I was just like, I didn't know what to do. But I just knew, I was like, I never wanted to be married.
I actually compared her, Jada Pinkett, to R. Kelly without the underage.
Trying to embarrass him into divorcing her.
We sat down with Will and had a conversation. He gave me his blessing. And I totally gave myself to that relationship for years of my life.
At first, I was completely lost. I didn't know what to do. But one thing was clear in my mind. I never wanted to be married. That feeling didn't come out of nowhere. It came from watching everything unfold up close. I've said this before, and people hate it when I do. But in my opinion, Jada Pinkett reminds me of R. Kelly without the underage part. Not because of the crimes, but because of the control, the manipulation, and the way humiliation becomes a weapon. I believe she's been trying to shame Will publicly, pushing him toward divorce without ever saying the words. I didn't just assume things. I actually sat down with Will. We talked man to man. He gave me his blessing. And once I had that, I gave years of my life fully to that relationship, believing it was honest. By now, everyone knows Will, and Jada's marriage was never traditional. Jada herself admitted she stepped outside the marriage, what she casually labeled an entanglement. But according to Brother Bilal, that confession barely scratched the surface. He claims the list of men involved was much longer, and some of the names are far more recognizable than the public realizes. He says he saw things with his own eyes. When Jada was at Will's house, not her other place, he claims there were videos. And yes, one of the names that came up was MC Lyte. He insists he wasn't trying to force the narrative, just telling what he believed to be true. According to him, there were long-standing suspicions that Jada and MC Lyte had something going on, while the men around them were used as cover. Then came another claim. Someone who allegedly saw Jada and MC Lyte together repeatedly at a well-known lesbian club in Hollywood. Always there, always together. And that's when he dropped a line that changed everything. The tapes are going to surface. He made it clear he didn't want to watch them. He said what he saw wasn't supposed to be seen at all. The tapes, according to him, were reported stolen. But here's the twist. He was never accused of stealing them. He says he saw the tapes while Jada was allegedly under the influence. Psychedelics, substances, completely disconnected from reality. According to him, she didn't care who was in the house. Not the kids, not anyone. Lost in her own world. And that's when he says he saw things that didn't feel real. Celebrities, multiple faces, familiar names. One of the first people he mentioned was Alfonso Ribeiro. And if Brother Bilal is to be believed, what happened in that video was disturbing. He claims Alfonso was begging for it to stop, while Jada allegedly told him to be quiet. He described the details vividly. Her clothing, her demeanor, everything. He says their history went back years. Not a relationship, just encounters. And he claims resentment built over time, especially when money, power, and imbalance entered the picture. Then came another bombshell. Bilal alleges Tyrese was involved with Jada during her marriage to Will, and that recordings exist to prove it. He claims when those recordings come out, it will be impossible to dismiss his story as lies. Another name followed, Charlie Mack. According to Bilal, sometimes Jada didn't even need to be on camera. He claims she was still present, off-screen, directing men on what to do to each other. He insists Tyrese appeared in one recording. Another allegedly involved Charlie Mack and Will, with Jada's voice heard in the background, giving instructions. He says when those tapes surface, everything changes. Then there's Bresh and Gray. Bilal claims their connection went far beyond rumors. He says legal paperwork exists, mutual NDAs, and once those documents became a liability, the pressure to silence him escalated fast. He describes a birthday party tied to the King Richard premiere, a private screening, a tense confrontation. According to him, Jada approached him, put her finger in his face, and issued a direct threat, telling him to stop talking or face serious consequences. He says that moment confirmed everything for him. That's when he decided it was time to make his move. And that decision would lead straight into a lawsuit that changed the narrative forever. That interview didn't just trend. It went viral worldwide. Overnight, the story escaped control. And that's when things shifted behind the scenes. Bilal says Charlie Mack reached out to one of his close friends with a message that caught everyone off guard. According to him, Will and Jada were willing to pay fast. The offer was simple: write a retraction, take the money, make the story disappear. He claims the paperwork was already drafted and sent over. He was told the money would hit within 24 hours. Bilal says he shut it down immediately. Instead of backing off, he went the opposite direction. He filed court documents under penalty of perjury, stating plainly that he was willing to face jail time if even one of his claims was proven false. No hedging, no walking it back. He insists this was never about clout, never about revenge. According to him, this was about the truth, and about how Will Smith was humiliated publicly while powerful people worked overtime behind closed doors to protect Jada's image at all costs. He says this pattern wasn't new. For decades, he claims, narratives were quietly adjusted, stories were softened, damage was redirected, and media outlets played along. Then he brought up TMZ. Bilal alleges that when rumors surfaced involving Will and Dwayne Martin, Will's representatives rushed out denials. But he says what bothered him wasn't the denial, it was what came next. According to Bilal, TMZ downplayed any connection altogether, acting as if there was no relationship to question in the first place. He didn't buy it. He called it manipulation, media spin, a deliberate attempt to muddy the waters. Bilal says at that moment, everything clicked. The offers to pay him off, the sudden silence, the careful wording in the press, the same machine working overtime to control the narrative. Again, and that's when he made it clear he wasn't backing down. Because once court documents are filed under oath, there's no retraction that can erase what comes next. And from that point forward, this wasn't just a story anymore. It was a legal reckoning. People need to stop lying. You could have done a simple Google search, multiple movie credits with Will. I'm literally in the book. Check my Instagram. It confirms everything. Yet TMZ kept spinning the story. Why? Money talks. In my opinion, someone was paying them to bury the truth. To control the narrative, we thought it was over. After my accident, nobody was hearing from me. Then the Diddy story surfaced. Suddenly, everyone started distancing themselves. I remember going to a party. It turned into one of those wild, private, freak-off parties. I had photos, pictures of Will, sitting there with a naked girl, eating fruit off her body. I sent them to every press outlet I could. The images went everywhere. Suddenly, the public saw a version of reality that those behind the scenes were desperate to hide. After that, the narrative shifted. Will's appearances were staged, AI-generated fans, fake events, pretending he'd never been at Diddy's party. Even Jay-Z confirmed it. Will and Diddy were not on good terms. Bilal claims the public only ever saw one entanglement, but behind closed doors, Jada's involvement with multiple men during her marriage to Will was an ongoing pattern. The list? People in the industry you'd recognize immediately. According to him, the reason this story keeps getting pushed down is simple. Too many powerful people don't want exposed. Bilal insists this wasn't rumor, it was pattern. And now, with court filing, discovery, and sworn statements, the truth is unstoppable. He predicts that within a year, Will and Jada could face criminal consequences. Right now, it's civil, but with the evidence in the hands of the federal government and the Assistant Attorney General, he believes someone is going to jail. And this all links back to one of Jada's biggest scandals, the infamous Red Table Talk episode. Sitting across from Will, she finally admitted what everyone had been whispering for years. She revealed a relationship with R&B singer August Alcena during her marriage, what she had tried to soften by calling an entanglement. Will pushed her to clarify, and she did. It wasn't vague anymore, it was a relationship. The episode exploded. 15 million views in just 24 hours. Will looked shattered. Jada.com. The internet finally realized a marriage they had been sold wasn't what it seemed. Jada first met August Alcena in 2015 when he was just 22 at a Willow and Jaden concert. At the time, he was struggling. Physically, mentally, emotionally. He later revealed he had developed an addiction to painkillers after collapsing on stage. Behind the calm-faced Jada showed on camera, a storm of secrets, betrayals, and hidden pain had been raging for years. And according to Bilal, this was only scratching the surface. According to Jada, August came to her looking for guidance, help with life, direction, stability. But when August finally spoke for himself in a radio interview, his version sounded very different. He said he loved Jada deeply, that he gave years of his life to the relationship, that he gave her his whole heart, and had no regrets about telling the truth, even knowing the backlash it would bring. That's when Will and Jada made another move. They went public about their private separation, reframing the situation as part of their growth. Jada denied August's claim that Will had approved the relationship, but she never denied the relationship itself. When the story first broke, most people were focused on the shock, the memes, the awkward red table moment. But comedian DL Hughley looked past the headlines, and what he saw disturbed him. He said the situation felt less like a messy affair and more like something deeply unbalanced. DL explained it with a scenario that hit close to home. Imagine a young person comes into your house, a friend of your child, someone who needs help, a place to stay, someone you begin to treat like family. And then imagine that once they're vulnerable, sick, unstable, dependent, you cross a line. That, to him, was the problem. Because August wasn't just some random adult. He was Jaden's friend, someone brought into their home, someone who was physically ill, emotionally fragile, and mentally struggling. DL said when someone is in that condition, the power dynamic changes completely. To him, that's what made the situation predatory. He said people got angry when he compared Jada to R. Kelly without the underage part, but asked a hard question. If you remove age from the equation and focus on power, influence, money, and emotional control, what's really different? DL pointed out that August later talked openly about wanting to end his life, about how broken he felt afterward. And that's when the conversation shifts. Because this isn't just about cheating. It's about the damage left behind. He argued that if the roles were reversed, if Will Smith had done this to a young, mentally unstable woman, the public reaction would have been ruthless. Careers would have ended overnight. Instead, what the public saw was Will sitting at the table, looking defeated, almost humiliated, especially after August claimed Will had given permission. That moment alone flipped the entire narrative, and not in Will's favor. DL said when one person has fame, money, influence, and emotional control, and the other is barely holding themselves together, that imbalance is dangerous. That's the exact reason movements like Me Too exist, not just because of age, but because of circumstances. And his final point was the most chilling. He asked, what was the best possible outcome of that situation? A young man already unstable, emotionally compromised, financially supported, pulled into something he was never equipped to handle. According to DL, nothing good could have come from that. And once you see it that way, the story stops being messy. It becomes something much darker. What did people expect to happen? Pictures surfaced, 3 of them, arms around each other, taking snapshots as if nothing was wrong. Bilal said he couldn't handle it. Watching it all play out on red carpets, paraded in public, he just couldn't. He wasn't built that way. Forgiveness might be possible, he said, but sitting there, participating in the spectacle, that wasn't going to happen. Comedian Lewell echoed the sentiment. August wasn't a snitch, she said. He was a hurt man, deeply hurt. And when someone is hurt that badly, it can break them in ways the public rarely understands. August had been fragile from the start. Health problems, family losses, emotional trauma, zero stability. And instead of guiding him toward help, he was drawn into a complex, romantic situation with a married woman far more powerful than him. DL and Lewell both painted the same picture. Jada wasn't just involved with August. She stepped into a mentor-like role, crossing boundaries with someone who could barely hold themselves together. The imbalance was dangerous, and the fallout inevitable. DL said if the roles were reversed, public reaction would have been brutal. No memes, no jokes, just outrage. And that imbalance, it didn't stop with August. According to Dr. Umar, it extends to marriage itself. He claims there's no prenuptial agreement. That context explains a lot. The comments, the public pressure, the way Jada appears to be intentionally nudging Will toward divorce. Why are you still together? Someone once asked him in an interview. Jada's response was chilling. It's cheaper to keep her. A joke? Maybe. But to Dr. Umar, it's strategic. Every public jab, awkward revelation, and comment designed to make Will uncomfortable is part of a calculated pattern, a way to get out of the marriage while securing her share. Dr. Umar believes both sides feel justified. Will protecting his estate. Jada feeling entitled to her stake after years of being emotional support, partner, and mother to their children. He says from the outside looking in, it appears dysfunctional, but intentional. A slow, public push toward separation and control. And some of that dysfunction goes all the way back to the beginning, when Will and Jada met. Will was still legally married to Sherry Zampino. Even Jada's mother has said that despite stepping into his life during that first marriage, Jada never actually wanted to marry herself. She only did because she became pregnant. I really didn't want to get married, she said. But we only got married because Gammy was crying. I was under so much pressure. I was young, an actress, pregnant, and I didn't know what to do, but I knew I never wanted to be married. For many, that revelation hit harder than any entanglement or scandal. It suggested that what looked like a ride-or-die marriage may have been built on obligation, compromise, and secrecy rather than true choice. And according to Bilal and other insiders, Jada has tried to exit that obligation. Quietly, strategically, multiple times. Now the question lingers. Will more allegations surface? How deep does this web of secrecy, imbalance, and manipulation go? And will the world ever see the full truth behind one of Hollywood's most powerful marriages?